The end of days are nigh. The Metalocalypse is upon us. Unless you are vigilant, you will drown in fear.
Hi. What?
The Doomstar. It creeps closer to our atmosphere every day, threatening cataclysmic destruction. Salacia. Only he knows what vile evils are in store. We must journey out to find the Song of Salvation.
What is the Song of Salvation?
Nobody knows.
Well, do we at least know the running time, roughly?
Nobody knows.
Does we at least knows what keys it ends in?
Nobody knows.
What happens if we do it wrong?
The world will be bathed in blood. The earth will be a hellscape. All that is good will be dead.
Now is the time for you to choose. Will you be the fist or the hand?
Welcome back to Owls Only, the Adult Swim podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Hope, and Xanax is good. And I am here today with a very special co-host. They're like the Metalocalypse expert. It's my friend Rissi.
Hello, everybody.
So, Army of the Doomstar. It's finally here. It finally happened.
I know. I can't believe we're finally here. It's been 2 years in the wait. 2 years in the waiting for this.
Yeah, we've been waiting 2 years. I think they've been trying to make this for at least like 10 years, or at least like a form of it for like 10 years.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mike Lazo.
Yes. Because we don't know the full story of what happened, but it's very heavily hinted at that Brendan and Mike Lazo had a bit of a falling out over the planned 5th season because it was going to be way too much story and not enough comedy, and that's just not how things were really made in Lazo's like run of Adult Swim. And just by this script, I think this is like almost like identical to what like the season 5 script would have been. You know what I mean? Like, because this is like, there's funny stuff in it for sure, but this is the most dramatic that Metalocalypse has like ever been.
Yeah, I described it as like 80% story and like 20% comedy, and like that's not me complaining. Like this is like a crazy thing to like see from Metalocalypse. Like it's a new, I guess, like format, and it's done really well. I think it works really well.
It's like, yeah, like that's a perfect way to describe it. 80% story, 20% comedy. And the show is mostly the inverse. The show is mostly like 80% comedy and 20% like story. And I think you're right. This does pull it off in like a really, really, because like it feels seamless to me. Like I've seen a lot of people bitching that like, oh, it wasn't funny enough, like it doesn't feel like Death Clock, but I really disagree. I think they pulled it off like seamlessly. Like this
I agree. 100%. Yeah.
Also, like, so this is the 3rd of the 3 Adult Swim movies they announced. The others are obviously the Venture Brothers movie, which we talked about, and the second Aqua Teen movie, which I'm talking about tomorrow. But so this is the 3rd one, and I feel like this got I feel like this got 60% of the budget. This was so fucking good looking. Like,
yeah. And like I remember in the bonus features on the DVD, there's like 23 minutes of like behind the scenes footage, and Brennan said something about like we have a limited budget, and I'm like, how limited? What do you mean limited?
And really, like, I think that in terms of like these 3 movies and the Bob's Burgers movie, which I'm counting as part of this like new generation of Adult Swim movies, all of them look fantastic. Like I feel like this is probably the best looking. Bob's Burgers maybe has it beat because there's still like some like janky motion in here, and obviously it's not like a theatrical budget, but I think the backgrounds in this movie are fucking insane. Like the backgrounds are insane. The way they set up these shots, the characters all look insane. Like because I love season 1 of Metalocalypse, but it like even
It's a
for its
slideshow. It's a
yes,
slideshow.
which is what a lot of Adult Swim is. I don't know. Have you seen C Lab 2021?
I have not.
Okay, that show is like I feel like I mean I love that show more than anything. It's kind of like the grandfather to Archer. It's a lot of the same Archer people, but that show is legit is like almost twice as bad looking as season 1 of Metalocalypse. So, but yeah, season 1 is like you said, it's like a slideshow. It's very Adult Swim. It's very like lo-fi, like and then this is like it's a fucking movie. Like this could play in like an IMAX screen. I think it would look beautiful. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think part of the reason why Army of Doomstar feels so cinematic and feels like its budget is just so much more compared to like the other two is like because Metalocalypse started as like a slideshow.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
it's just like compare like going back and rewatching any episode from season 1, like after watching Army of the Doomstar, it's like how is this the same show? How did we
Yes.
end up here?
Yeah.
In like a
Now
good way.
um I also do think that Venture and Aqua Teen actually look really, really good. Because like Venture is still because obviously Venture Brothers is one of the best looking shows on TV, and that movie is like operating at the top of its game. And then Aqua Teen does a huge animation upgrade as well from like characters that don't move at all to like actually fluid animation in that one, which is fun. But this just like I also think that this is like something that I don't think anybody else cares about, but I think the aspect ratio has a lot to do with it too. Just like the way like it frames it, so it's like that cinematic aspect ratio, and it's not just like 16:9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it doesn't like take up the full screen. It has like the black bars on the top and bottom. That goes a long way into making it feel more cinematic, and I think it just looks so good. Like
I think another part of like why it feels like so cinematic is because like I said, it's like 80% story, 20% comedy, where like Venture was also like a good 50-50 as like the show normally is. And then,
yeah,
Aqua Teen's like all comedy, a little bit of story in there, but like mostly comedy. It's
yeah,
just like this is like the most story driven one. And like you
yes.
said, like the aspect ratio and like how it looks, it's just cinematic.
Yes, it's such a great looking movie. I also think that because Titmouse is like a huge animation company. Titmouse does like they do like Star Trek Lower Decks, they do like Beavis and Butthead. Titmouse does like everything now. And this was one of their first shows ever, which is really cool to like for them to get to be able to come and like finish this project because they did start off like with season 1 of Metalocalypse, and now they're making like this fucking gorgeous movie. It's a really cool testament to see how far they've come as an animation studio, both in just like in terms of what they can do, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Love you, Titmouse.
I love Titmouse so much. They make some of the best looking shows on TV. Also, have you seen any of the new Beavis and Butthead? Because it looks exactly like Metalocalypse.
I haven't actually. I might have caught like one or two episodes that like I think it used to play like after South Park.
Yes.
I maybe have caught it once or twice through that, but I haven't
It
really sat down
looks
and tried to watch it besides that.
it looks exactly like Metalocalypse. Like exactly.
I gotta
Like
tune in.
because like the second Beavis and Butthead movie is also made by Titmouse and like the same studio and stuff. And so I remember watching it and I'm like, why does everything here look exactly like Metalocalypse? Like it's very odd, but I like it. So yeah, we can just like get into like the story. So the first I noticed this in my second time watching is that like literally at the halfway point of the movie is when like the tone changes and shit goes like really crazy. I mean, it's serious the whole time, but like I guess that like the action kicks in at like literally the halfway point.
Yeah, like the when aortic desecration ends and like it just like ends very abruptly and it's kind of like there's like this light little sound happening as you're looking at Dick
Yeah,
Melber's face. That moment sticks out in my head so much because you can feel you could feel something shift in that
yeah.
moment and it's so powerful. It's so well done.
I was more thinking about when after like they do the drug trip and like you just see like the massive storm and Nubbler's like the deadlines here, and then like that was like right before they play aortic desecration. Also, I think that scene where they play aortic desecration is like fucking incredible. It's such a amazing looking scene. It's so good.
Just like
Um,
the new band animations, it's because for like seasons 1 through 4, all of them, they use like the same copy and pasted like band animations every time. I love it, but it's like getting these new ones is crazy to me.
yeah, like Murderface like nodding his head while playing that bass.
Like crazy.
Yeah. This is like it's so like I that scene was so fucking crazy because I think also like I said one of the things that I love about like when cartoons become movies is that it gives them sort of like the chance to really flex like what they are and what the show is about, and I feel like that aortic desecration scene is like it's like a big movie version of like season 1 Metalocalypse because you have like the band playing this fucking awesome song, and then in the back, not in the background, but like there's also then there's scenes of just like mass death and carnage, but like since it's a movie it's on like a planetary scale.
Yeah,
Like
it you worded it like perfectly.
the
Um,
fucking fire tornadoes and like the skulls that are like evaporating into the air, it looks so fucking cool.
it's so beautiful.
It really is. Like
I
this
can't get
is
over how pretty this movie is.
like this is one of those movies where it's like you could every single frame is like a wallpaper, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
That's another thing I felt about the Bob's Burgers movie. It was like every frame is like a wallpaper. But
Another
so
thing about like this that sequence is Nathan like before playing it like, "Oh my God, is this the wrong song?" And
yeah,
it's like there's something about that line delivery that just like makes my stomach turn because like I'm feeling his anxiety in that moment too.
yeah, it's such a good moment. It's also really weird because the beginning is them at like that press conference after they rescue Toki, and fucking John Hamm is like the moderator for some reason, which is funny. Um, but it was really weird to me because I have listened to like Doomstar Requiem on repeat for like 10 years. And so I've always had this idea in my head of like how it ends. And this just starts off and it's just so different because I kind of realized that scene takes place in between them rescuing Toki and the Blazing Star concert at the end of Doomstar, I think.
Oh,
Because I think the concert where Nathan collapses is the Blazing Star concert at the end of Doomstar.
that would make sense. Oh my God.
That's something that I caught because it does sound like they're playing the end of Blazing Star,
Yeah,
and
that would make sense. Oh my God.
it all kind of like lines up, but it was really interesting. But also because like just the band using the death lights at the end of Doomstar Requiem is such like a iconic moment in my brain, and it was also really interesting to have like none of them remember it at all except for Nathan. Like
Yeah.
that was crazy. I was like, what? Like they don't remember any of it? Like that was super interesting. Um Oh, also, this movie continues the trend that I love, where it gives us like a really big, like theatrical version of the intro with I don't think the song is called "The Fall" on the
Yeah.
yeah on the soundtrack album. So good. It's like it's not exactly the death theme, but it has like it's the death theme.
It's like the same chord progression, like at least at the very beginning of it. And like I noticed it on my second watch. I think after
Yeah.
like you pointed it out, I was like, this is definitely like supposed to be like the opening theme here. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it sounds so awesome. I love the
Yes.
fall. It like the entire score is just wonderful. Like Brendan is a metahuman.
Yes. Like he went fucking crazy on this score. Like it is truly like this it is unbelievably good score. Like I've every scene is like enhanced by it in a way that like most like cartoons just aren't, you know?
Yeah, like I specifically like whatever song is playing during like the Charles fight at the very end
Oh
is
yeah.
so wonderfully done.
Yes. Also I will say so we get like almost no Charles in this movie, which is one of the unfortunate like I wouldn't say it's not disappointing because like he's not needed here because it's about the band like
Yeah.
doing stuff themselves. So I understand why he's not in it, and they do give him a lot of good moments and stuff. But it is also like, oh man, I don't want to see more Charles. But
I honestly like during the entire movie, like we had that one scene with him talking to like Pickles and like Nathan at the beginning. But like throughout the entire movie, I'm like, is he gonna come back? Is that really the only Charles we're gonna get?
Yeah,
But
same. I was like,
no, he came
okay,
back.
when is
It's
he
fine.
coming back? Like, yeah, like, but they do save it for like the perfect moment when like the fans show up and like Charles is with them. I was like, oh fuck yeah, let's
See,
go.
I feel like that scene wouldn't have hit the same if Charles like showed up like another time in the movie.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that they did it like that.
I'm fully like, there are two moments watching this where I was like, oh fuck yeah, like I would literally yelled like fuck yeah. That was the first one when Charles showed up, and the second one is when the whale prophet comes out and eats Salacia, because
So fucking cool.
I love the whale prophet. That's my fucking goat. I have the t-shirt with her on it, and like Ocean Galactic from Galacticon 2, which is like about the whale prophet, is like my one of my favorite Brendan songs. Like I'm fucking all about the whale prophet. That shit was so cool. But so one thing I was thinking about with that scene, because like Charles shows up, it is like a fucking Avengers Endgame shot with all these different side characters. You
That's
know?
true.
Like,
Yeah.
my thing is, why wasn't Roxo there?
He was at church.
I guess, but like, I feel like that would have been another perfect time to put him in there, because
That's true.
Roxo does have one scene in this movie. It's at the beginning, and like it does kind of feel like that Roxo's there because he has to be, because he's like arguably the most iconic Metalocalypse character.
Like like normal fans that are like has such a huge fan base. People fucking love Roxo. I'm personally indifferent towards Roxo. I don't love him or hate him. He's just kind of like whatever to me. But like
Yeah.
people love Roxo.
No, I watched it with Alex, who is like the other occasional co-host of this podcast, and I was explaining to him that like, no, like he has to be in this movie because people who don't watch Metalocalypse can tell you like people who haven't seen Metalocalypse since they were like, you know, fucking smoking weed in college and watching Adult Swim can tell you like who Dr. Roxo is. That's why he
Yeah.
has to be here. He like that's why as we're recording this, the Baby Metal concert is going on. Like the first Baby Metal concert is going on.
Yes,
And
it is.
like isn't like all the tour merch just fucking Dr. Roxo?
So yeah, Roxo gets 2 pieces of merch and there's no merch with like any of the boys on it.
Yeah.
No, like nothing with like Nathan's face or anything like that. There's a Facebone shirt. I think there's 2 Facebone shirts technically, and then 2 pieces of Roxo merch, and then
Yeah.
like a Death Clock hoodie that just has like Death Album 4 on the back,
Yeah.
and then like just a Death Clock logo, and it's like a Death Clock tour shirt where it has like the
Yeah.
tour dates on the back, but it just says Death Clock on it, and like
It's
that's
just
it.
Roxo.
So like
It's-
Roxo gets 2 things, the boys get nothing. I don't understand that.
It really is, because like he's just the most iconic character for some. I do love Roxo. I do think that I don't think he was as funny here as he can be. Like I feel like in the Christmas one is where Roxo peaks as a character. He's so fucking
yeah.
funny in the Christmas episode. I think he's good here, but that sequence also looks insane. It looks so good.
I think that amazing Grace is so
Yeah.
hilarious. The fact that Roxo like joins church.
Yeah. I also love how it just pans across all the band looking pissed off. Then Toki is like
Toki's
fucking like extremely
over the
happy.
moon.
Yeah, so
See,
good.
One of the Roxo shirts on this tour is like bright pink, and it's just like a PNG of Roxo slapped onto it with like Death Clock logo above it.
Yeah,
And personally, I'm choosing to believe that Toki designed that himself because it has Toki written all over it.
that is perfect. But yeah, so this movie is very heavy on like Nathan, Murderface, and Pickles, and I feel like we don't get that much Skwisgaar and Toki, but it does make sense to me because I feel like Doomstar Requiem was all about Skwisgaar and Toki. So I think that there's like a weird, because we don't know when they started on Doomstar, how long it was after they finished like season 4. So I think it's entirely possible that like the events of Doomstar Requiem and Army of the Doomstar are supposed to be one just like 5th season. And so I feel like the elements from that 5th season have stayed the same, but so Brendan doesn't want to like, just spend time on Toki and Swissguard because like it's all one story and they already got like a lot of their like time to shine in the Doomstar Requiem, which is why they don't have like as much to do here as they might normally would.
I agree. I know what you're saying, but we should have gotten another whole movie about those two. Those are my babies.
Yeah, Toki's
they're they're my favorite. I love those two more than I think I love myself.
yeah, Toki's my favorite character by far. I fucking love Toki. But yeah, it is. I did notice that like they still get like good pivotal moments, like the dead face thing when Swissguard like plays out the
So
notes.
fucking cool.
So cool.
And Toki holding Swissguard at the very end, bridal style, that means
Yeah.
the world to me.
Yeah.
That like changed my life.
So they do get like pivotal moments, but like the story is about like Nathan Pickles and like Murderface and Murderface in like the first half. Once Murderface gets cured of the possession, he is kind of like another part of the band for the rest of it. But like it is really about those three for most of the movie. But like I said, it does feel like Doomstar Requiem and this at one point were one like 10 episode season of TV, and then it's just been broken up into like hour-long rock opera and a full-length movie that came out 10 years apart because that's how television works. And I do think like that it's like it just makes like it's hard to describe, but it makes sense to me. Like those pieces like fit together for me in my brain. But it's weird that there's two Doomstars now because like for years and years and years, like it's always referred to Doomstar Requiem as, oh, that's Doomstar, and now there's two Doomstars. It's like you have to say Army of the Doomstar. You have to specify now because there's two.
I know. That makes life hard.
It's fucking crazy. It's just so a lot of this podcast is gonna be us just talking about how fucking cool this movie is.
Because it is. That's like
It's so cool.
It's so fucking cool. I cried like 2 times, I think.
Yeah.
I cried during
It wasn't more.
Yeah. I think I was just so in like disbelief. I cried really, really hard after.
Yeah.
Because it kind of like after it like set in, like then I cried. Because like I cried during the Song of Salvation. And then I started crying like during like the Charles fight because it was so cool.
So fucking cool.
But like I like deep sobbed, like, grieved over Dick Nubler. I'll say it. That one hurt me hard. That hurt.
Fucking Song of Salvation for the first like that's also it's something that you've been hearing about just like for forever, and then you finally get it. So cool. Like it was so fucking cool to actually get it. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Murderface possession stuff here. Which everyone has been talking about. Like everyone's been talking about for years. Like they're gonna do the Murderface possession arc. It was set up in Doomstar. That's the parts what I remember, like, because I watched this before you by like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I texted you halfway through. I'm like, this is a fucking horror movie. Because like I knew going into it that it was going to have a much more serious tone, but if for the first half I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like this is a horror movie. Because like all the shit with Salacia possessing Murderface is so fucking like it's so scary.
It's scary. Like I was scared for Murderface. I was like, maybe he is gonna die here.
Like they pulled it off really well, and I think like Adult Swim's like #1 genre has always been comedy, but I also think that their #2 genre has been horror. And I think it's really cool to get like another Adult Swim like horror thing, because I think something Adult Swim does almost as well as it does comedy as it does like weird fucked up horror. And well, this isn't like it's scary in like a movie sense. It's not like fucking keeping me up at night like this house has people in it or like that kind of shit, but it is like it's scary, it's good. But like it's also this movie is, I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Galacticon 2 fan, and that was the ending for me for like 5 years. So I was like, oh yeah, that's the Metalocalypse ending. Like I wasn't really worried about getting more because I figured it would never happen, and I was like, oh, the ending is the album, like that's fine. But so I knew what was going to happen kind of in this movie, but also there's so much in this that I just wasn't expecting at all. Like did you get fucking Kung Fu Panda vibes from parts of this movie?
Yes, like the Nathan training like sequences. It's so
with like
Kung
the
Fu Panda coded.
with the water.
Yes.
Like I feel like I know that's I've heard other I thought of that when I was watching it, and I know other people have said that, so no, I'm not crazy. But I'm like, this is like fucking Kung Fu Panda when he's like lifting like the all the things of like water to water the tree of life. Um, but yeah, I do want to talk about like some of the differences between this and Galacticon 2 and what I think what this would have been like as like a full season of TV as like it was planned as, because I feel like a bigger part of this would have been like the army of the Doomstar, like the Clocketeers army of the Doomstar, not like the fans, because the album lays out like Murderface like literally killing all of them by himself, but I don't think we had time for that. Like, cause like there's a song in there.
That would have been insane to witness, first of all.
Have you listened to this album Galacticon 2?
I've listened through it like once and I have not listened to it again. I
It's
know. I'm
it's such a good like there's a playlist on Spotify that has it in the vinyl order, which is like the Metalocalypse movie order. And like it's so good, it matches up so well with what we did get. But like the song My Name is Murder on it is just like it is a full-on Death Clock song more than any of the other ones are. Like that is just a straight up Death Clock song. And it is like and like the general like plot of the song is Murderface going around murdering the entire army of the Doomstar like by himself. And I feel like that would have been like there's too much to do for there's too much that's like I know they had like a huge budget for this, but that might have been like stretching their budget even farther, and also that's stretching their time farther than they had. So I feel like what they did here definitely works just as well, where they have like Murderface finds the army of the Doomstar and he alerts Silesia to it, or Silesia takes it from him, and Silesia like sends like the military to come like fucking blow up the little place they're hiding at and like kill all of them, which was fucking crazy. Like you said, like that is the turning point, that scene where air desecration stops and like Nubler dies, the army of the Doomstar dies, and like it's just fucked. It's so cool. Like
so many people died in this movie.
yes, like this is I mean Brendan did say that he's open to making more, and I do think if he makes more it would be a different show. I think they should I feel like if he makes more it should be like a different title. Like I know it's not called Death Clock because Death Clock was like trademarked somehow or something, but like it's been like almost 20 years. Just get around that somehow. Like just fucking get
Yeah,
around it. Like just call it, if they make more of this, just call it Death Clock, because I feel
I
like
know. uh, I know in like an AMA like 8 years ago at this point, so it probably wouldn't happen. But like in an AMA once, Brendan was like, somebody asked him if you made a spin-off, what would you make? And he said like one about Roxo. And I was like, I think we could live without a Roxo spin-off.
yeah, Roxo is good in exactly the amount of time he shows up in the show.
Yep.
If you show Roxo more than like what you get in the show, it becomes upsetting. Like this is a horrible analogy, and I may cut this out just because depending on how I feel about after saying it, but like Roxo was like Chris Chan, where you can Roxo was like Chris Chan, where he's funny for about like 5 minutes, and then afterwards it gets really really upsetting.
Yeah, that's like perfect. I get what you mean.
That's how I feel about Roxo. But yeah, so if Brendan makes more, it's gonna be like a very different show, I think. But like this
I
is go ahead.
in one of the magazine interviews he did recently, I think it was with Revolver, um he said that if he wanted, like, he wants to make like a metal horror movie, like a live action metal horror movie.
Oh, that'd be sick.
And I'm like, please, can you,
Yeah,
Brendan? That would be fucking amazing.
I'd love that. I'd go watch that. Um, but like it like because he hinted at like making something more with Metalocalypse, didn't he? He said that like, he would make more if people wanted it.
Yeah. So he said something along the lines of like, if people want more music and we are able to play the music, why would we say no?
Oh, okay.
And um I think I personally have always interpreted it this movie as like this is going to be the finale of like the series, and I feel like
Same.
there's a higher chance of us getting like a Death Album 5 or like just another like Death Clock album. Like I'm thinking like more musically.
Okay,
There's
yeah.
there's definitely more music in our future, I feel, but I don't know about like a show continuation. It would be fucking awesome if I'm proven wrong though, and we got more.
Yeah. But like this is the end of like the main story. Dude, fucking Metalocalypse future, like Steven Universe future. This is the end of the main story of Metalocalypse because like everyone fucking dies. Like everyone I thought for years that if they ever made this, then the band would die, like they would die saving the world. I was really surprised and happy that they didn't. Cause like, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm glad that they didn't die. I'm glad I went to this thinking, okay, either Charles is gonna die or the band is gonna die, but they're both there's no way they both all live. And they all lived, which I'm very happy about. I like that they all lived. I feel like you can feel like Brendan's love for these characters just by letting him but despite the fact that he lets them live, you know,
Yeah.
that he lets them he lets all six of them live. It's great. This also I was kind of thinking about like I'm coming up with this thought as I say it, so it may be wrong, but I was thinking about how like so much of this is focused on like the story and how like I feel like I said if Doomstar Requiem and this was supposed to be one long season of TV and like they really didn't change much of the story to fit the format. It is interesting how this show is written versus Venture Brothers, because I feel like this show is like a set story that Brendan like wanted to tell, and he's like, I am going to tell this story, and he stuck to his guns, which I really love and I think is awesome. And I think Venture Brothers is kind of a different thing where Doc and Jackson in that movie were like, okay, we love all these guys and we need to have all these guys that we love in here, and like the story needs to serve the fact that we love these characters and the audience love these characters. Like I feel like both are really good, and I think Metalocalypse is great characters, but I think like it is interesting seeing like a character approach versus like a story approach with like this is the story that I've wanted to tell since the beginning and I'm going to tell that story, which I think is really cool.
Oh,
Like
yeah. I get what you're saying 100%. Yeah.
like the different approaches there, because I do think this like I feel like there's definite like changes with like format and stuff and how he couldn't like make fit everything in that he probably wanted to, but I feel like the core beats of this are the story he's been wanting to tell since like 2006, and I think that's fucking awesome.
It's just it feels very hopeful to see like a story that's been in development, like you said, since 2006. It's very hopeful and it's very like relieving to see like a animation get a proper close like this, because I
Yes.
feel like I have witnessed it way too many times where pieces of animation, TV shows, whatever, they just never get an ending because the network fucks them over in some sort of way.
Yes, I'm actually 2 days from now, Disenchantment final season comes out. I am very excited for that. I can say this now probably. I met Josh Weinstein, the showrunner of Disenchantment, a couple months ago, and he told me that it was going to be a final season, but they answer everything, and they like, you know, they answer like everything they needed to answer, because that show is like fucking like has more plot lines and lore than even this show does. Um but I think that it's fucking crazy the landscape we're in of animation, because that was supposed to be another 2 seasons, but they had to condense it down into 1 season for Disenchantment. And like,
That
dude,
sucks. That sucks
it
so much.
I it sucks, but it's better than not getting anything, so I'm still happy about it. But also, dude, fucking Matt Groening shows aren't safe from this kind of shit. Are you serious? Like, because oh my god, I'm gonna save that because I'm gonna do Disenchantment podcast on here eventually, because I have a lot to say about that show because I fucking love it. But it is it's very awesome that Brendan got to make this and he got to make it exactly how he wants to, and it's awesome that the show and Venture Brothers, if they don't make more, got to have endings, which is a thing that not a lot of shows get. Like so many shows with like the way that content works nowadays just get like pumped out, people get attached to it, and it dies, and like it never comes back at all. Like never, nothing
I'm
comes of it.
thinking a lot about Inside Job, where we got
I knew that was
greenlit for
coming.
season
Yup.
2 and then we got pulled away from us.
It is like
Oh my god.
when I think about Inside Job, because I was thinking about like something I think about a lot is like the evolving nature of like because I love comedy and love TV, but animation, like, and like adult animated comedy especially, is like my super niche. And so like I think about a lot about the evolution of that as like a medium, and as like a how like the industry works. And I feel like Inside Job, if given more time to grow, would have become like a Futurama level hit. And I think it has a lot of the similar aspects that people loved about like early Futurama, in the sense where it's like it's a workplace full of like endearing, like funny characters. You have like they're, I mean, Brett and Reagan, I don't know if they were gonna be a couple or not, but they were like, male female lead, kind of got a will they won't they thing like in the center to keep like people's attention and stuff like that. Like it was going to be the next Futurama, and it's really annoying that like it just gets canceled in favor of like 10 more Futurama episodes, which obviously they're not the same network. That's Hulu, the Inside Job is Netflix. But like, you know what I mean? Like, we can't get it sucks that we can't get new things anymore, because like we're just gonna bring back Futurama again. And like this new season's been fine. Like I love Futurama, but like I would still much rather get 10 more episodes of Disenchantment, or 10 more episodes of Inside Job instead, because Futurama I have like 120 episodes of already. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's just like we're in like a climate right now where like networks just want to make money, and they know rebooting a series that people already love will make them money, and they don't
yes.
want to take a risk on just making like a new show that won't make them as much money.
And
So
again, I do think that like I still think that right now we're getting like higher quality TV than we have for like most of like the existence of television, because I feel like anything that comes out is like there's like so many shows that are like the best thing you've ever fucking seen in your life, and like you just like don't know about them until like you stumble upon it one day. So I still do feel like we're getting so much good TV. It's just the fact that like nothing is allowed to have an audience anymore, because like I said, Inside Job, that could have been a Futurama level hit. Like that show was getting popular on like TikTok with like Zoomers and stuff like that. Like that was good. Like you were so close. Like you were almost there. Like,
I feel like the part 2 of season 1, it was like on Netflix's homepage, is like people are currently watching. It was like #1 and like streaming for like the first like 2 weeks, I think, is when it came out.
yeah.
Like it was really popular. Like it was literally all over Netflix's homepage, and then suddenly Netflix was like, "Nope, I'm taking away your green light."
Oh yeah.
Like I don't get it.
I didn't know this, but Cheyenne Takuchi was a writer for Disenchantment in the first season of that. So she's like all over that first season of Disenchantment, which is awesome. But she's like the Inside Job, like woman who wrote Inside Job.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking yeah, it's just the score of this movie is fucking crazy. Um
We
okay,
we
hold
got
on.
off track a little bit.
Yeah, we got off track a little bit, but I do love, like I said, they adapt the Exodus song from Galacticon 2 almost 1-to-1 in this movie, where like one of the lyrics of that is they should have taken the man in green. He wanted it to be his end, but it drowned the beast out, which is exactly what happens with Crozier in this movie, which I think is really fucking sick. Also, something that I want to make clear is that I do not remember anything that I say on this podcast, because someone that I know on Discord messaged me and like was talking about like my murder face theories. And I was like, when did I say this? Like, did I say this on the podcast? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember saying this at all. Like, apparently I said Murderface was going to die at some point. I don't remember saying that. It's possible.
I
Like, I
think
don't
I might have said something along those lines. That's like, I feel like Murder Ace is gonna die. I don't know. I
like,
don't
I
remember
don't
either.
like I do this, and then I try to make it sound as good as I can, and I put it out into the world. I do not listen to these. So all I know is that I make sure I say like, things that I want to say, but I never like I don't remember anything that I say on here. But okay, I'm gonna fucking end this meeting and restart it again, because like I said, this podcast is held together by duct tape. So hold on.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. I swear to God, I'm gonna get a better way to do this. It's just gonna let my headphones at work, so we had to do it through this way, but we're back 10 minutes later. So I have been talking way too much. I want like bring up whatever you want to bring up about this movie, because I know like probably have way more to say about this than I do.
So I mean, like, I'm very biased because I love Squiscar and Toki like more than anything in the world. So, like, when I think of this movie, I think of their moments.
Yeah.
But I also think mainly of Dick Nubler, who I realized I love him so much more than I thought after
Yeah.
watching this movie because, like, I was genuinely like grieving, sobbing afterwards. Like, my chest hurt.
Yeah.
That affected me so deeply. I didn't realize I liked him that much. It was not, it's not like the fact that it's like Dick Nubler icon, but like he died in such a traumatic, like he it was so sad in front of the boys too. Like, are
Yeah,
you
he sure
kidding?
did. So there's a part, like, not everything in Galacticon matches up, but there is a part in there which I always thought was Charles, but this does kind of match up with Dick Nubler's death scene. It is in like the final battle song though, so maybe this was changed around. But like one of the lines in the song is like I can't break through, I can't see you, surprised me too, it's down to you, which makes me think like that's maybe about Dick Nubler's death, because it seems like there's like a barrier there. I always thought that was like some kind of barrier between Charles and the rest of the band. That line is like Charles having to accept them like being able to do shit on their own without him. But it almost kind of works retroactively with Nubler, except it's like way, way, way later in the album than it should be if it was like 1-to-1 with this movie. But yeah, R.I.P. Dick Nubler, fucking king.
So devastating. We got him being so whimsical, only to lose him so fast.
Yeah, this was the most Nubler we've ever gotten, and also like the least horrible he's ever been.
Yeah, that's true.
I always loved Dick Nubler though.
I've pulled up so I had watched this movie because Bryce got it a week early and he thankfully streamed it for me so I could watch it also a week early.
Yep.
So I couldn't talk about it with like anybody else. So I just opened my notes app and I just like vented to myself.
Yeah.
Like after I watched the movie, and I opened this up right now, and a lot of it is about Nubler. But one thing I do want to bring up is that one line that Nathan says to Murderface, where he's like, "You can't hear the bass, but you can always feel it."
Yes.
Oh my god.
A lot of that stuff too is because one of the I think it's season 3 episode where Murderface and Toki quit the band, and they're like,
it's Death Residuals.
that's
That's what
season
that's 3,
called.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so that's
season 3, episode 7 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that plot of that episode is like, without Murderface around, like the band actually gets all their shit done on time, but they hate it because it's too happy and it's too like clean. And that is exactly what the Murderface plot of this movie is about. It is like one for one that episode, which I think is really cool, like bringing that back around. That is like the theme of it, is like the like you can't hear the bass, you can always feel it, because they also say that a lot too in the show, is like you can't even hear the bass.
Yeah. But you can always feel it.
Yes,
Oh,
they brought it back
it's
around.
oh my god.
So
So
fucking
good.
good.
Another line from this movie I want to bring up is, "Toki, be a good boy and bring mommy a scotch, okay? I got this." Why did he say that? You know what?
Funny.
Thank you.
That's something I would say. Well, that's something I would say to one of my friends. Like, it's funny.
I no, like, I meant that like theoretical, but like I love that line. That's probably one of my favorite lines from this movie because it took me so off guard that like I still keep like texting that to my friends and they're like, "Would you stop sending me this?"
You told me before this movie came out that Pickles was like the band mom.
Yeah.
And like they literally say that in this movie too. Like they call him the
They
band
do.
mom, and then that shit happens. Like when that happened, I was like, oh, that's a certified Rissi moment. Like when they cut to him and they then said like and they said like mother and they cut to him.
Yeah, there's like a mother, father, brothers, and sister.
Yeah.
And the thing is about like Toki being the sister is that I listened to this podcast where Brendan was on it. It may have been like from what, 2015, 2016. Like it's older. But even in that podcast, Brendan refers to him as the sister of the band.
That's funny.
So and when that moment happened, I was like, oh, he's been sitting on this for a long time.
Yeah. That's intentional. Like that's not a joke.
Is there anything else I have written here that I want to bring up? Literally, majority of this is me just being sad over Nubbler and then
Yeah.
freaking out over Squiscar and Toki. That's my entire life.
Would you be okay? Here's a theoretical for you. Would you be more sad if Charles died?
I gotta think about this. I gotta think about how I want to phrase this because I have a lot of friends who are deeply in love with Charles, and I have to watch what I
Uh-oh.
say.
Do we have a Charles Offenson anti here?
No, 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 no. Okay, I think I would be more sad over Nubbler, but
Yeah.
that's just because I'm more biased towards Nubbler.
Yeah.
I would be sad over Charles too. I'm not saying I wouldn't,
Absolutely.
but I I I was expecting Charles to die or at least get like
Yes.
gravely injured in this movie. We've watched him die before. Like
Yeah.
I was not expecting Nubbler to get murdered. Okay?
Yeah. I really wasn't expecting him to have such a big role in this movie at all.
Yeah, that too.
Like I thought he just like wouldn't be in this movie because I was like no, that like the time for like characters like Dick Nubbler is over. Like this is all serious shit now. But no, he's in it. He's in it a lot, which is cool.
I haven't brought him up, but Edgar.
Yes.
Edgar also passes away, which is so sad. Where he says, like, my brother, my love, like, I'll meet you again, or something
Yeah.
like right before he dies. It's so heartbreaking.
I love that he fully came around on the band because I like it felt like in like season 4 in Doomstar that he was just working with them because he had to, but it is cool how it comes around to like he fully does like believe in Death Clock and stuff now. It was really cool to like see that full evolution of the character, and also like it's perfect that he dies like helping defeat Salacia and stuff. It's like yeah, it's perfect. That was like in like a span of like 30 seconds, like Stampingston, like the Mark Hamill guy who always like introduces the specialist, like he gets blown up in like the coolest fucking way possible. And
Yeah.
then like Edgar dies, and then like it's not 30 seconds, more like 5 minutes. And then like Charles kills Vacher Orlog. So there's like three major supporting characters all fucking like get murdered in the span of like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
like the end of the fucking show.
Another thing I want to bring up, because I honestly, this like lingered in my mind for a while after I watched the movie, because I did not even like consider this a fact. But like every single time Nathan would try to think of a song, he would think of Magnus as his
Yes.
first like option, which is really interesting to me because I didn't realize that the entire Magnus situation affected him as deeply as it does.
Yes, that was
Um,
really interesting to me too.
there's a song on Death Album 4 where if you go and read the lyrics to it, it's almost exactly like Nathan wrote it about Magnus, which is
Which
really
one?
interesting to me. I think it's Satellite Bleeding. I want to
Okay.
say it's Satellite Bleeding, but let me look up the album real quick.
That was interesting to me too, and it's an angle I didn't ever think about with Magnus because like I mean they didn't really know it was Magnus, I guess, until like the end, but maybe they did, I don't know, but like they don't ever like the band never talks about Magnus in like Doomstar Requiem. And but Magnus, despite not being in this, he's like a huge part of like this movie. Like
Yeah,
and like that was really interesting to me because like I never knew any of them cared about Magnus that much, which is
yeah,
really
me neither.
interesting. Like it's a
The-
very interesting take that like because I never knew that they even gave a fuck about Magnus. But that's interesting, the like the
yeah,
song about
the
him.
song is called Bloodbath. It's Bloodbath. That's
Okay.
in my opinion is written about Magnus. If you read the lyrics and think about like how because like what we see of how Nathan like perceives like the Magnus situation, how he's like the first person to think of, and how like Murderface compares himself to Magnus, and Nathan is so quick to be like, "You're nothing like him."
Yeah.
Like obviously this affects him like very deeply, but like just reading the lyrics because like the very first lyric to Bloodbath is like, "Why can't I make up my mind? Is this your knife in my back?"
Uh-huh.
Like directly referring to Magnus
Yeah.
stabbing him in the back. Like just this entire song is just him. In my opinion, I think it's about Magnus. But like just Magnus I like you said, I was not expecting Magnus to be in this movie as much as he was, even though he's dead. But like
Yeah.
even the like him just being brought up like as many times as he did, that was surprising to me.
Same. Super interesting. Um but yeah, so the fucking climax of this movie is amazing. Like everyone shows up. Charles gets to, because like one of the recurring lines in every season finale of Metalocalypse is "That's my bread and butter you're fucking with." Charles gets to deliver the ultimate version of that, which is "Those are my spiritual saviors you're fucking with." Fucking peak, fucking hype. It was so good. And then like I really love how fucking awesome and like gruesome the deaths for like the tribunal were. Like that was so cool. Because Vacherola gets fucking shedded in like a snowplow or something, and you see like
Yeah.
his eyeballs and shit. It was so cool. Um, but yeah, so then Salacia does take like the final form, which is like this fucking giant, like he almost looks like Gulp from Adventure Time. Um, like he looks like that thing, and the band calls upon the Death Lights, and they're able to like we also, because one of the biggest things with Death Clock, both in the show and like the music itself, is the phrase "go into the water." And
Yes,
that
yes.
is repeated at a very pivotal moment. They say Nathan says like "go into the water," and he spreads the power among like all the fans. They push him into into the water, and the fucking whale prophet comes out and eats him, and it's so fucking sick. Like that was the second moment where I was like, "Fuck yeah," because it was just so sick.
This movie
Like
is just so fucking awesome in every way possible.
I also love the motif with like the recurring motif with like the fist and the hand, like Nathan like having to choose between like being the fist or the hand, and he chooses to be the hand when he writes like the Song of Salvation, and like extends out to the fans, and chooses to be the hand when he literally like shares the power with them in like the climax and stuff.
It's just so good in every way.
It really is. It's just fucking, also the fucking Avengers Endgame credits with like what shows all the cast members and who they play and stuff. That was fucking awesome. Like that was another like really cinematic like touch. Like I was like, what the like this is fucking cool.
It was so great to have Tommy Baca back. It
Yes.
was so awesome to hear him. And I, at least like Murderface specifically, there was a few line deliveries from Murderface where I was like, oh my God, he is cooking in that booth.
Yes. I
Like
fucking love having him back.
he's such a good voice actor.
He really is. He's in I think he's in King Star King, which is another show that I didn't watch that till they made that special earlier this year, and I was surprised how much I actually loved it. You might actually like that show because a lot of it is kind of similar to Metalocalypse in terms of like just like the metal imagery and that kind of shit like that. I think he's in that show. I'm not positive because I haven't seen it forever, but I think that he is in that show. But yeah, it's also the final title card is in memory of John Schnepp, which was very awesome. Like I think that's such a great perfect touch on this movie that like it had to be there. And as soon as you saw it, I was like, it's just like the biggest like aw moment. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
John, like it's yeah, it's great. I love it. It's just this movie is there isn't as much to talk about as there is with Venture, only because this movie just does exactly what it set out to do 10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, like I think like the one criticism I could have with it, if I were to like have to pick one, is that I wish we got to see more of Toki's recovery process.
Yeah,
Um, but I understand that we were on a time crunch and there's only so much we were able to see.
yeah,
Seeing Toki in headphones like regressing is like that's like enough for me. I
yeah,
want to give him a hug and give him like a little pat on the head.
yeah. He fucking hits pickles. So funny.
That's
Um,
another thing I want to bring up is that Toki specifically with those headphones on, I feel like because like Toki being autistic is like a huge headcanon within the fandom. And like specifically those headphones are you mainly see like people on the spectrum and like have those headphones and those are specifically for like sensory reasons. And I feel like that was like them specifically being like this is us saying Toki is autistic. And
yeah,
as an autistic viewer who loves the show very much, that touched me very deeply and I'm very appreciative of that.
hell yeah. I'm glad they did. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot. Last thing I'm gonna say is like a lot of the first half of this movie too does have more of that like conversational like home movies type dialogue that's like a trademark in Brendan Small shows. So I'm glad there is like a little bit of that was kept in this movie. Like a lot of the church scene is that too, with them just
Yeah.
like improv. It almost feels like improvising. But
Another scene that kind of has that same energy is like at the end where they're like having their final meals
yes,
and they're talking about like what they're gonna be like in the afterlife. Like that scene as well just felt very like the comedy part of Metalocalypse, and it felt very like real. Like
yes,
just these characters are just talking, and it just feels very familiar and nice.
yes. It's just like I said, this movie is just exactly what it should have been and had to be, and because of that, it's fucking the coolest shit you've ever seen in your whole life. You know what I mean? Like this, like, because I feel like both Aqua Teen and Venture Brothers do go for a lot of both those. I mean, it's like both those movies go for like bigger swings in the sense that like stuff that like had a chance of not working. Like Aqua Teen obviously is a much different. That second movie is much different than any other Aqua Teen content, which I'm going to talk about on that episode coming up. And then the Venture Brothers movie is just. I mean, it is just like a Venture Brothers thing, but like it. The Venture Brothers, by definition, is not going to be like, just by how that show is. It's never going to be as like openly definitively an ending as this is, so that was always going to like make some people upset, you know. But I feel like
Yeah.
this is just delivering exactly what it promised, and I think that it's fucking perfect for that. Like I'm so happy this movie exists. um
Like my expectations were high, but like
yeah,
it went even higher than them,
yeah,
which is like crazy to me. I don't think I could say that about anything else I've seen.
more movies, more shows should have movies like this. It's
Oh,
just
100%. Like I feel like you could really tell that Brendan, like I think you said this earlier, but Brendan had this idea of how he wanted his story to end, and we're seeing exactly what's been sitting in his mind for the past like what 18 years.
yeah, he fucking did it. It's fucking awesome. It's just, yeah, I don't really have that much more to say about it. Do you have anything else to say about it before we start wrapping this up?
I do want to talk about Death Album 4 a little
Yes.
bit. So, along with this movie, we also got Death Album 4, which is the first Death album in, or I guess like Death Clock album in 10 years, I think.
Yep.
Um,
Maybe
and
11 if you don't count Doomstar.
yeah, uh, it starts off very like rough and heavy, and then like it sort of transitions into like a lighter tone. And
Yeah.
we like I think like we maybe heard like one or two songs like out of Death Clock that kind of have that lighter tone. Like Black Fire Upon Us is one that comes to mind. But
Yeah.
like this, hearing Death Clock with like lighter tones is so like I feel like I'm levitating. Like just
Yeah.
thinking about it. Dead Face specifically,
Love that song.
um I noticed somebody pointed this out. I read like a post about this or something, but like the chord progression in the song Dead Face like spells out Dead Face. Like the chords that
Yeah.
like Squiscar is playing, like that's actually how the song goes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So cool.
Like oh my god, but like that one part of Dead Face where you could really hear Murder Bass's bass, and it's like the slow part of it.
Yeah.
I could talk about little bits on this album like so much because it's Brendan Small, I want you to know you've made my life a living hell in the best way possible.
Yeah. I want them to ship the fucking vinyl and CD so I can have it, because
Me
I'm very
too.
excited for that. And the magazine. I'm really excited for the hardcover magazine too.
As of right now, they're supposed to ship on Friday, September
As
1st.
yes,
We'll
as
see
of
how
right now.
long that'll last.
Yes, we'll see how long that lasts. I'm hoping they do. Um, but yeah, it's just fucking awesome. This is a great movie.
I can't believe we're finally here.
I know it finally happened, and now there's no more Adult Swim movies for the foreseeable future until they announce more. Until they announce the Rick and Morty movie. Um, fucking Rick and Morty. They are hinting towards the episode titles now on their Instagram account, and they announced it's coming back October 15th. Let's get that fucking recast announcement.
And yeah, we still don't have we still don't know who's voicing him. Personally, I here is what my idea of what I want them to do. I want Rick to be voiced by a different person every episode.
I could see that. I think it'd be really funny if they just never told us. Like, it's this anonymous person just voicing them in every episode.
That would also work really well.
They wrote and animated this entire season, like, before the Justin Roiland thing happened, I'm pretty sure. So, like, it's all, like, nothing in it is going to be, like, directly affected by the new voice. It's just going to be dubbing. But, that's going to be fucking crazy when that eventually happens. Fiona and Cake comes out tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
Archer comes out in 10 minutes. The final season of Archer starts in 10 minutes. Fucking yeah. I have a lot of good shit going on right now within Adult Swim. But yeah, do you have anything else?
Nothing else related to Metalocalypse, but I do want to say that the episode of Futurama reboot where Zap gets canceled premieres on 9/11. So
fuck yeah. It's gonna be a good 9/11 this year. Oh my god, there's an episode of this show, of this podcast, I think it's the Eric Andre episode, where I just, like, the first thing I say is like something about 9/11. Like, it's like the first word that comes out of my mouth. I think it's the Eric Andre episode. But yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter, or follow, like, the podcast on Twitter at Owls Only Pod. You can check out all of the shit that I waste all my money on Adult Swim Merch Archive on Instagram. Hopefully I'll be posting the Death Album 4 vinyl within a couple weeks here.
I still need to send you my Doomstar pictures, my bad.
Ooh, yes, that'd be awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at Mouse Fitzgerald at the D. And you want to plug anything?
You could follow me on Twitter at Sorry I'm Rissi. My Instagram is also the same It's Sorry I'm RISSI. I will be tweeting a lot about Baby Clock, because this tour is crazy to me and I really, really love Death Clock. I'm seeing them at the Sterling Heights Day on September 17th, and I do have meet and greet. So if you want to know my story and all that, if you're really interested, follow me. I will be tweeting a lot about it.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I love this show more than I love my life. More than I love anything, really.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.